Yes, I'd like to ask a practical question, get a little away from some theology now. But I've always wanted to ask an atheist this question, but I never found one that would admit that he was, and I'm glad that I finally got to do this.
I'm available online.
Thank you. At my age, I go to doctors quite a bit. And when I look in the doctor's office, I see what the human body looks like and where all the parts are placed. And it all works real fine, and every once in a while, some part doesn't work. That's why you go to the doctor, so you can get it fixed. Now, I'm kind of setting the table for a question, so please be patient with me. Now, when we had my wife delivered our first child, I went to the hospital and brought this little baby home. All the parts were in the right place. All the parts worked. And I thought to myself, who designed this? There has to be something out there. Now, you don't believe there's a God.
Straight to the question, please.
So let me ask you this. How is it that the human body is designed in such a way, in an absolute way? Who designed it?
I'm afraid the question I can't make a lot of sense of, simply because I don't think that a designer is necessary. I also don't think a designer is necessary every time a beautiful snowflake is created. I don't think someone drew that and then gave the plans to the moisture in the air.
Now let me stop it right there, because that's what caught me. Now I want to address the rest of what the answer is given as well. That demonstrates that this man, I don't know what his name is, I'm sorry, couldn't keep track of who was what, and so on and so forth. There aren't any graphics to tell you. But the middle atheist there has no earthly clue if this is an honest response. Okay, if he's playing games, maybe he does know and he's being purposely deceptive. I don't know. But if this is an honest response, then he has no earthly clue what intelligent design means, or even how to recognize intelligent design. Because notice the error that he just made. He talked about how a snowflake can be beautiful. Well, not that we see many of them around here in Arizona. Well, okay, south of the Mogollon Rim. They had snow in Flagstaff just a few days ago. But we don't get much snow. But I did. I lived in Minnesota and Pennsylvania, so I've seen a little snow. And snowflakes are beautiful. Snow is beautiful. Well, to a point. Just a interfamily text. Any news? And the answer is no. Summer may be watching, and this actually may be delaying, because she may find the program so fascinating that that even the baby is fascinated as well, and is.
Watchword of the day: be anxious for nothing.
Anyway, the problem is this: there are beautiful structures in nature, such as snowflakes, minerals, some crystalline forms, beautiful lattice work, and just, gorgeous. But they don't carry information. A snowflake, the design may be complex and beautiful, but it's not informational. It's not informational. Now, the DNA strand in the nucleus with the specific coding that produces millions of differing proteins and all of the incredibly complex structures of living cells and living bodies. Nanomachines that we cannot, with our greatest technology, reproduce to this day using all of the intelligent design that we can come up with. That DNA may not be nearly as pretty as a snowflake, but it carries information. Now, someone might say, well, there's some information in a mineral lattice. Well, yeah, it'll tell you what the various molecules are made of and how they're arranged. But again, the point is the ability to communicate data. The very building plans of a complex structure, such as the human body, are not found in the random joining together of molecules in a crystal, or in the formation of water molecules in the air. That is completely random. It may be beautiful, but that's not the same thing as passing the test for communicating information. Now, for example, I was pointing to my phone here, and everything about this screams design. Everything about it. There is a screen that happens to radiate electromagnetic radiation within the visible realm of my eyeballs. Otherwise, it would always look like that. Even went on. Because it could put out radiation outside of the realm that I could see. But no, it puts out radiation, and you can see it too. Isn't that amazing? Yeah. And there are these buttons that I happen to be able to push with my fingers. And when I hold it up to my ear, the sound comes out to where I can hear it. And my voice goes into where the other person can then hear. And the apps have buttons in them that I can utilize so as to obtain further information and perform certain tasks. And everybody looks at this and goes, this is designed to be able to accomplish a particular task. And man, we keep asking more and more and more and more of these little things every 6 months or so. And people are more than happy to provide us with that because they then charge us great large amounts of money. The design that is found in biochemistry has a purpose and a function. It communicates information, and it communicates that over multiple generations. Complex information and specific information. When you understand, for example, how enzymes work and how they have to have a particular molecular form and how they have to bind in a particular way, and if there's so much as one molecule in the wrong place, so many of the diseases we now have come to understand have incredibly minor causes. Minor in the sense of it's just one little thing out of place. That level of specificity is absolutely necessary. And so, I don't know if this gentleman understands that. I don't know if he understands what biochemistry has revealed to us that Darwin knew nothing about, had no clue about at all. But that the level of complexity and interaction and function, all of which goes far beyond anything that I'm holding in my hand, and no rational human being would ever say that this arose accidentally. None. None. But there they sit, and with the very minds and bodies that exhibit that clear, unequivocal, unquestionable evidence of absolute intelligent design, they will use their intelligence to say, I don't see a designer. Where's a designer? I don't see a designer anywhere. It's amazing. The only way to explain it, these are intelligent men. It's a spiritual issue. It's a spiritual issue. So when you hear somebody saying that and referring to snowflakes or crystals or things like that, they don't get it. They don't get it. They've completely and totally missed it. Missed it. They don't get it.
As you well know and alluded to, the human body does not work so well sometimes. I shouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for modern medicine and science and logic and reason and all those things that I suppress God to use, apparently.
Yeah, I would not want to have to answer for those words someday. I really wouldn't. The mockery, and again, okay, so he's had some medical procedures. So have I. I think he says he had his appendix out. So did I. That was in first grade. And he's going to say it, he's going to do the old vestigial organ thing. Actually, we've discovered that there's a number of functions that the appendix is helpful in. But he's going to go down that road. But the mockery of, it was just science. It was logic. He probably knows that the vast majority of advances in medicine were done by people who believed that you could actually examine the human body and do so in a meaningful fashion because God created it. He probably knows that. But anyway,
Those things we understand now. I was able to get my appendix taken out, which would have killed me otherwise, because that's a rather useless piece inside my body. And that's left over from just the way that nature has developed such beings.
Notice how they cannot avoid. He's sitting there saying, I don't see any need for a designer. And yet nature has developed such beings. They can't avoid it. I was a bio major in college. And even though I was a Christian college, didn't use Christian textbooks. And these secular textbooks promoting and explaining the theory of evolution could not do so in the English language without utilizing language of design. And even a couple times even stumble into admitting the beauty of what seems like design, but really isn't. Well, no, actually, it really is. It really is. It's great.
Designer that's necessary.
One addition to that is it's wonderful to go through.
Now, I got to admit, Cy looks like he completely checked out at this point. Did you see that? There. Yo, Cy, dude. I know it was hot up there, but I'm not sure what Jeff's doing. He looks like he's tweeting or doing something. I don't know. But Cy has left the building at this. Punch the clock, left the building.
To that is it's wonderful to go through the biological textbooks and find out other species that are similar to us that have all the parts that we have, and then start going back even further, and some of them don't have some of the parts and other parts, and to see how
there are parts and other parts and many parts, and the fact that we all live in an oxygen nitrogen atmosphere with a certain amount of gravity and have to eat the same kind of food shouldn't be relevant to why we have similar parts. I don't know.
evolution came to design where we're at right now. It's all in I lost my train of thoughts for a moment. It's all
The miracle
in
of evolution.
survival of the fittest. Those people who maybe had an extra part or didn't have a big enough part at that particular time in their environment.
I just love, I've told the story before. I'll tell it very quickly. When I graduated from Grand Canyon College, I majored in biology and Bible, minored in Greek. And the first book I read after I graduated was Blind Watchmaker by Richard Dawkins. I wanted to read the best the other side had to say, had to provide. And I had since high school, all of my biology professors, my biology teacher in high school, my biology professors in college were all trying to convince me of the evolutionary theory. So from the time I was a sophomore in high school, I was being given college-level articles on natural selection and the whole 9 yards. And so it is very clear to me that very few atheists do anything more than just repeat the mantras. Because the whole concept of natural selection, and no Christian that I know of that knows anything about this subject denies that natural selection takes place. Obviously, it does. Sai's listening. Actually, I wanted to call him on calling a snowflake beautiful, but knew I wouldn't get the chance. Sai, I don't know what you were staring at, but it was well beyond the confines of the back wall of that room. That's just what that was like. Into eternity. Anyway, it wasn't meant as a criticism. It was just, the other guys were talking, and yet for some reason, they're showing you. And, like I said, it looked like Jeff was tweeting something. I don't know. But anyways, these guys don't really understand natural selection. Natural selection takes place. Everybody knows natural selection takes place. There's nothing that can be argued that if your genetic manifestation gives you an advantage in having more offspring than someone else's genetic manifestation, then you're going to end up with more offspring in the gene pool, and you're going to predominate over time, assuming that the environmental conditions remain stable, which very frequently they do not. But that reality, which allows life to adapt, which would be predicted by a creationist model, is made to become the very engine of change in the evolutionary model. And it's not a big enough engine to do that. It functions on a very small scale in regards to the genetic material available to work with. And it's just not a big enough engine to run this thing. It's really not. Okay, now I'm getting all the responses here. Let's see. Okay, so Summer says, to you, Rich, yeah, you try not being anxious with a 7-pound baby kicking your ribs all day. Okay, so there's yours. Sai says, oh, I was definitely checking out. And then Jeff just popped in with, I wasn't tweeting. I was probably staring at my notes, wishing there was a debate protocol and actual rules. I might have been playing Angry Birds. You had something electronic in your hand. I know that. So there you go. So we've got Sai and Jeff are both listening. And I did not tell them that I was going to be doing this. So maybe word got around. I don't know. But there you go. And Summer's listening too, as well. How you doing, honey? You're just holding that baby, telling that baby to stay calm until the dividing line's done. I know what you're doing. But here's the phone. I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting. That was Jeff. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Anyways. Yeah, book says I need to do the dividing line in a distraction-free zone. Nah, people love it. People love watching me do in fact, my whole Sunday school lesson Sunday was the squirrel lesson. Squirrel! It wasn't totally my fault either. I dared mention something about Roman Catholicism, and all of a sudden, hey, I've got a, what about, and because I was telling folks we're going to do the church history thing again. And Jeff says he's always stalking me. So, yeah, that's true. And, hey, Jeff, Josh passed his brown belt in Krav, so be careful. I can send him after you now, okay? Just, you may do your thing, but he's got jujitsu and all that other stuff down, too. So just you're getting older, dude. I hate to tell you that. Seeing a little, this kind of stuff. Just life. Anyway, what were we talking about? We were talking about atheists don't understand natural selection. The engine's too small. In fact, it reminds me, I saw The Martian over the weekend because I'd read the book. And so I wanted to see, and they stuck pretty close. I mean, they had to take a bunch of stuff out. They had to, the book was long. Only at the end did they decide to try to rev stuff up a little bit. I won't tell you how, but and then they added some stuff at the end because the book ended rather abruptly. But one of the problems they had was how to get a certain ship to a certain place, and they had what's called an ion engine. And one of the things they explained was it's great for long distance, but it's too small to do something real fast, to make major changes. Exact parallel to natural selection. Evolution requires it to do a whole lot more than what it's actually designed to do, and that is to allow for living organisms to adapt to a changing environment, which is sort of like what God wanted them to do. But anyway, so they don't really get this stuff, and they're just repeating what they're being told by other folks.
And those survived, kept on going. So that is not anything to do with social Darwinism right now. This has to do with the survival of the fittest, and that's part of it. Study it. It's a fascinating experience to find out why, physically, we are the way we are.
Why is it a fascinating experience? I mean, it's just random. There's nothing fascinating about it because there's no purpose. Yeah, anyway.